living in this day and age.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Okay, so that's fine. We are live, it looks like, my friend.
All right. Hey, how are you?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing?
We're doing well. We're hanging in there.
All right, so let me see. It says live. I've got some live. I want to double check we're live, if that's okay with you, my friend. Super excited to have Steve Martin on the show. We have been friends for the 80s, right? UCF, Greek system, peer advisement, all sorts of fun stuff. And thank God we've kept in touch all this time. We were just talking about that. What a blessing that is. But he's, Steve DJ'd. I can let him tell a little bit of that story. Did a whole bunch of stuff and always was ahead of the curve when it came to production and production value and video and all sorts of things. And created a beautiful career and a business out of it. So welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Ted. Really appreciate it.
Very, very happy to have you on. I want to make sure we're live. So this is part of the fun part of not having a production assistant, is that I'm the production assistant looking to make sure it's all on. So tell them a little bit about you. Give a little bit of background. I could talk all day long, but you're going to do it better than me. So give them a shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you, Ted, so much for having me on your show. I've been watching you grow this thing, and it's just an amazing experience that you put together for our community and this ragtag group of friends from way back when in the 1980s. I see so many people from UCF on your show, and it's just really kind of fun to watch and listen in. Just a very quick, for those who don't know me, a little bit about me is Ted and I went to UCF in the 1980s. We were children of the Greek system. I was a Lambda Chi, and Ted was a Sigma Chi, I believe. And we had a lot of fun back then, doing all the silly fraternity and sorority things, but learning a lot along the way. And there were some amazing organizations like O-Team and Academic Peer Advisement and President's Leadership Council that brought so many people together and gave them a chance for leadership opportunities and to really grow. And I was just so privileged to be part of some of those things. It was just a great deal of fun.
I forgot about PLC.
Yes, my wife Charlene.
Yes, I forgot about PLC. How terrible is that? I loved PLC. That was I feel like the Greeks, the kids that go to school today, I know they're going to laugh at this, but I feel like we had such a beautiful, unique experience that even right after us, a lot of people did not have. The Greeks were united. It was a commuter school. We really all got to be tight in a way that I don't think it's possible anymore to do. So,
I think we went to the UCF in what I'll call the Golden Era. It had just been around long enough. I started in '81, and it had been in existence since the late '60s. So it was only 15 years or 13 years or so when I started. And throughout the whole '80s, I think UCF was just really coming into its own as an entity, as something more than just a commuter school. It was going through growing pains. But there was this fabulous network of students who were active, and the administration that supported them and really nurtured these young skulls full of mush, as I like to say. And it was just a great time. It was just a wonderful time.
Magical, absolutely magical. And we talk. Stacy, of course, is here. We're all working from home, and we talk about peer advisement and all of the experiences being Greek. And you just didn't have to be Greek either. But all right, so I could spend hours talking to you about that. But I want to focus on Omni. I want to focus on your initiative that you have going about the town halls. So take it away, my friend, and I'll ask questions as I
absolutely. So, for those that don't know, Omni Productions is a video production company right here in Central Florida. And like a lot of businesses, obviously, our business has been impacted significantly by this COVID-19 virus. And not completely dead in the water, but we're not shooting anything. We still have lots of editing to do and lots of other kinds of things to do. So thankfully, we haven't had to lay anybody off. Everybody's still with us. And like most entrepreneurs, you kind of step back and go, all right, there's a lot that I can't control. What can I control? What can I actually do? So one of the things that we did was we started seeing a lot of people on social media coming up with just information available about, at the time, the payroll protection program and the extended unemployment insurance and all kinds of things like that. There's a lot of misinformation and people are just trying to make sense out of it. And my first thought was, well, we tell stories for a living, so let's tell this story. So we actually created a show that helps business owners navigate the mess that is COVID-19 and the response from government. So we started off with helping people understand what the PPP program was, and we did 3 shows on that. And then just a couple of days ago, yesterday, we released another show about unemployment, how it works, and how you get reimbursed for offering unemployment to your folks, or sick pay, and all kinds of things like that. The topic is thick. It's not easy, but we had great experts. We had Congressman Darren Soto on one episode, and I think Andy's got some footage somewhere. We had Susan Sutherland. We had Marcos Marchena. We had experts basically sharing information and helping everybody understand what these programs were, how they worked, where are the pitfalls, and so we just wanted to share that out. And thank you so much for the platform of giving us to talk about this right now, because the more people that watch those kinds of things, the better informed they are, so they can make decisions for themselves.
I think they're confused. I think it's confusing. Like you said, it's thick, I think is what your word was. And that's a great description. It's hard enough to maneuver through a system when you're stressed out. You've been sequestered, as I call it, or quarantined, lockdown. And then you're trying to figure out how to fill out an application. You can't get through for any support. You hear on the news all the money's run out, and so you don't know where to go to get the information in order for you to get to the money that might be available for you. It's very, very confusing.
Right. Well, that's what our show was designed to do. It's available for replay. All those episodes, you can go back 3 weeks ago on the Omni Productions Facebook page, and you can watch those. So they just reallocated money for that PPP program, and it's scheduled to run out very quickly again, maybe even faster than the last one. The last one ran out in like 8 or 10 days or something like that. And this one is, they're worried that it'll go even faster. So if you don't know how to do it, you can go up there and watch those programs. The information hasn't changed. I'd watch them in order. There it is. There's a sample of it playing right there in the background while I'm talking. But I'd watch them in order, the first one to the third one about the PPP program. And, it'll be a couple of hours well worth your time. Each show's about 35 or 40 minutes, if I remember right. And we lay everything out for you.
What were your, which is so good, because I think people really are looking for that simplicity, and they're also looking for people who can help them. So you brought experts together instead of trying to figure it out because one Facebook friend did it one way and another friend did it a different way. It's what I envision is that the people will actually give them some real insight, your guests. So what was your takeaway? What did you, as you're listening to everyone, and obviously we're all going through this together, what was your takeaway from listening to the experts about trying to figure out how to maneuver through the system?
Well, I think as I listened, and I played the TED role. I played the host, not the expert. So I was trying to gather information and try to disseminate it in an organized way. So part of me was wearing the production hat of just trying to make sure that the story made sense, and not so much what the story was, but that it was being delivered in a way that made sense to people watching it. After all, that's what we do. As a production company, we tell stories. We need to make sure the stories make sense. But from a personal standpoint, I was listening in, and I'm learning about that program, and like all government programs, there's pros and there's cons, and the fact that they rushed it out so quickly, and I think for good reason. I'm not saying that in a negative way. There's flaws in it, and there's problems in it. And you're seeing some of that stuff in the news now. People taking advantage of it. Big Fortune 500 companies, really technically they qualified, but people find loopholes to help themselves. But on balance, I think the program is pretty good, and I think it's going to do exactly what it's intended to do, which is to help small companies keep their employees, so that when we get out of this mess of this virus, whenever that is, that's a whole other political argument. But whenever we do get out of it, there's something to come back to.
Right.
Because if you've lost your employees or you've lost your business, there's, at some point the patient can't recover, the patient being the economy. And I think so from that standpoint, without getting political about, the ins and outs of the act, I think it's going to do what it mostly intended to do, and there'll be some unintended consequences.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that one of the things that's at the back of my mind from doing so many shows, and yes, I'm doing so many shows to help so many small businesses. I get asked this question all the time: why are you doing so many shows? Well, there's need. And my biggest fear is that by the time we do come back on board, that it will be a point of no return for a lot of these businesses who have been struggling. And so anything that we can do as a community to support them, to, the restaurants, to get the takeout and get the curbside and get the delivery, anything that we can do and put exposure on them. I mean, I want to promote them. I think we should all want to promote them, because the furlough turns into full-time unemployment. That's where it really starts to crumble. And I'm a little bit fearful of that. I think that we can come out of it, but I think the longer that we go, the more that we have to plan for, all right, what if this happens? And I think a lot of businesses are in the moment right now because they're struggling to stay alive and not planning for that. So a lot of the shows we've been doing, including this one where people can go and watch the experts talk, is about, okay, what do I do? How do I do it? How do I stay there so that whenever we do open in May or June or whenever it is, I can move forward, because it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same. Just because you open the doors doesn't mean everybody and their brother is going to start having a wedding or having coming into your restaurant. And how do you handle the restaurant when you're eating? Do you have to have a mask on? Are you going to be 6 feet apart? There's a lot of things
for every business. That's true for every single business too. I mean, like in our case, a big part of what we do is we do media for conventions and conferences. Well, that's not happening. We just had a show that was scheduled for July that we do every year that we just found out canceled. We kind of thought that wasn't going to be the case, that we thought that by July, certainly that event would still hold. But, it turns out that the logistics leading up to their July event was impossible, because they've been holding and holding and holding, and they finally came to the conclusion that we just can't pull the logistics for the exhibitors and everything else. So, I think all businesses are going to have to adapt, and that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship. I know a lot of small business owners, and most of them are pretty thoughtful in terms of trying to see what's around the corner. And when they get surprised by something, that they are remarkably adept at adjusting and adapting and making things work. In our case, we're using our video production and live streaming kind of expertise to come up with, well, how do you make a hybrid event or a hybrid meeting where some people are in person, other people are virtual, and you bring all of those together in some meaningful way. And we're actually, we've actually developed that process, which we thought never would be. Usually live streaming was just about taking the content and then spreading it out to other people so they can consume it. But now the people who are spread out are actually providing the content, and you still have to get it out in a different way. So we're putting, things like Facebook and YouTube and Zoom and this new application that is brand new to me that we're on today. What's it called? Streamable? No.
StreamYard.
StreamYard. That's a new one for me.
You're right. You're learning, right? You have to learn and adapt. You said it. I feel like we're all trying to figure out how to adapt and try to figure out, like, one of the things that I'm hearing is that right now a lot of people are doing live streaming conventions, so to speak, for free. Because they're trying to figure out, is this going to be a viable way for me to continue my business or to open it up? Think about it. Just because you have a convention scheduled in August, I'll be optimistic in August. What if a lot of those people want to attend and will pay money, but they want to do it streaming? I mean, there's some opportunity there as well, but you have to begin to think like that and plan like that. And that's where when you guys come in, is that you already got everything in place.
Yeah, we just have to repackage it and tell the story of how it's going to work. And, and when it comes to small businesses also, when we talk about this whole PPP program and how it's coming, I think if you ask any small business owner what the number one stress that he or she has, I think 90% of them would say is making payroll. No matter how good times are, how bad times are, making payroll is the single stress point in the world. So I think that program really helped to at least take some of that stress off for the short term, and hopefully we can come out on the other end. And like you said, adapt as we need to.
Have to adapt. All right, so tell them what you're doing, because so you're helping other businesses. You're having the town halls. What are you doing as the owner and creator of Omni Productions? What have you done to adapt? What have you done to stay creative?
Sure. Well, obviously, the big thing that we're doing is we're taking all of our energy and putting them into these programs. We're not making any money on any of those things. It's not nobody's paying for that to be done, but we're keeping our people busy. And then we are experimenting with these technologies on how to pull it off more successfully. And that's been the creative thing. From a practical standpoint, like many of us, we are remote working. Today I'm in the studio along with one other person, Andy, my producer. Say hi, Andy. Are you there? And nope, that's my camera. That's my behind the scenes.
Hi, Andy.
Andy Boel is my producer today, and it's just he and I in this big studio facility today. But we're working remotely. Well, for every business, there's different challenges for working remotely. In our case, we have something like 200 terabytes of data for video. We can't just pack that up on a laptop and go work from home. We're actually remote working where, when I edit from my house, I'm actually editing on the computer that's behind me right now. I'm just operating it from someplace else. And so that creates its own set of challenges and hassles, but we're still working and we're still getting things done. So like everything, it's a work in progress.
It is. I feel like, just like today, thankfully I planned for it, but Zoom to Facebook doesn't want to cooperate. So when that goes, if you don't have an alternative, then you can't continue to do what you want to do, which is I want to promote small businesses. And so you just have to figure out ways. I had never done this broadcast until yesterday at 4:00. First one ever. Went through one tutorial and hoped for the best. I still didn't do this one right. There's one platform I didn't go live on, but you can't beat yourself up. You just have to learn for the next one, but you at least find a way, find an alternative. Don't shut down, I think is the message. Don't give up. I know that it is believe me, it's very challenging. We're in an essential, we're considered on the Freedom Mortgage side, we're considered essential. And so we're still in business and business is still happening, but all around us, we're seeing people who aren't. They're being furloughed, they're being let go, businesses are closing. And so you have to figure out a way to help out if you can. I actually had somebody ask me what my marketing budget was. And I said, well, how much is a 12-pack of White Claw? Because I don't have that, but you do you do with what you have. And I think a lot of people are trying to figure that out right now.
We adapt.
So do you have another video that you were going to show us?
In the opportunity to talk to people, a lot of people wonder what it is that we do. You can send them to omninewmedia.com, which is our website, and they can poke around and check around up there. But we thought what we do is we just spend 90 seconds and just tell the audience what we do and show them how we do it. And I think Andy has a video queued up. I'll let him, as soon as I see that pop up, I'll just stop talking. But here we go. And there you go. That's what we do in about 90 seconds.
That is so cool. What I love about the journey is we've kept in touch over the years, and I think I was mentioning on the intro about you DJing. That is really my earliest memory, other than peer advisement and being Greek, of what you did. How did you go from, because people DJ'd back in the day, right? And then you didn't transition it and go with the flow with the technology like you've done and create an entire business of it. So how did that work out? How did that work? I guess.
Ira Smith.
I do, absolutely.
He tapped me to be the director of public relations for student government. And one of the first things we did in a cabinet meeting, this was on 1986, I think, or 85, just before I graduated, he said, we should produce some public service announcements for the university and make one of them about student government and some of the teams like O-Team and things like that. And I said, and he looked at me and he goes, that's your job. And I'm like, okay, I'm a marketing major. And I connected with a professor, a gentleman named Keith Fowles. I don't think he is living anymore. This is quite some time ago. He connected me with Tim Bartlett and Jim Daly, who were also UCF students. Tim's still in the production business, and so is Jim, I believe. And they were radio TV students, and we all connected, and we produced a series of PSAs. Here I am, just about 6 months from graduating. I thought, oh my God, I figured out what I want to do. And it's not marketing. I thought I was going to go work for General Motors or Chrysler or GE
Right.
or something like that, and go, work in industrial marketing. And I figured, this is what I love this. This is what I have to do. Now, how do I do it? And so I parlayed the wedding DJ thing, which I was doing, parties and fraternity parties and weddings and stuff to pay for school, into wedding videos, and very quickly realized that's not what I wanted to continue doing. And so I just converted the business and adapted. Again, there's that word, adapt. Into doing corporate media and broadcast media. And by the mid '90s, that's where we were.
You just always have seemed like you're one step ahead, which is where you need to be. Like you don't let the technology catch up to you. You're very like I as I watched you progress. And I was, not into technology until really Facebook. I mean, let's be honest. I had an email account. That's about all I did, and looked at videos on the internet. But I just would follow and go, gosh, he's doing so much creative. And then when the digital world hit, the real digital world, you probably already knew that it was hitting and we're ahead of it. That's the sense I got. And we're all like, wow, this is a whole new world. And you had already figured out a way to integrate it into your business and offer it services that would be helpful to businesses. So I just kudos to you.
Well, thanks. I think most small business owners who have made it past that critical, step of, going from a fledgling startup to actually to making it work, have developed that sixth sense of how to see around the corner. Not always perfectly, but at least well enough to kind of see what's coming next, and hopefully adapt your business and morph it to meet those challenges.
So how do people reach out to you? How do people look at the videos? And we'll share that. I'm sure you will do a better job than me, but I promise you I will look for it and tag it properly. How can people reach you?
Well, they can reach us simply by going to omninewmedia.com. That's our website, and they can see lots of samples of our work and things like that. For the videos that I really wanted to kind of promote today are these business training, for lack of a better word. I call it crisis training, COVID crisis training. I think we branded it Omni Cares, a virtual town hall series. And those are on Omni Productions' Facebook page. So just search Omni Productions Orlando, and it should come up pretty quickly and easily. And just look at the videos. We're pinning the latest ones to the top of the page. And again, like I said, this PPP program is spinning up again with new funds from Congress. So, if you're a small business and you're worried about making payroll and your business is shut down and you need information, go back to episode 1. I believe it was 3 weeks ago, and take a look at that, because I think it's really going to be helpful for you. We interviewed at that moment, it was Marcos Marchena, who's an attorney, also a UCF guy, and Congressman Darren Soto, who was very gracious in helping explain how the program works. We followed up the next week with more details as they were being laid out. So if you watch them in order, and then the third one was for 1099 employees, because it was slightly different for 1099 employees. Like if you don't have an actual payroll of companies, but it's just you and yourself, or maybe you and your spouse or whatever. So that information is out. Guys,
reach out. I'll also tag it. Omni Productions is on Facebook, and that's where the videos are. And make sure you watch them in order. Thanks so much, buddy, for being on the show. It's so good to see you. Give Shar and your family a big hug and love from me. Thanks for all you're doing. And guys, this is the kind of resource. These are the kind of resources that we need. And I think it's really great to have a local person, a local success story, putting it out there so other people can be successful. So thanks so much for being on the show, Steve. I appreciate you.
See you.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.